Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today, my guest is Kelly McDonald. Kelly is one of the nation's top experts in leadership marketing and the customer experience and consumer trends. She's worked with companies like Toyota, Harley-Davidson, Nike, Miller Beer, Great Clips, and NASA. She's named one of the 10 most booked speakers in the U.S. She's been featured on CNBC, Forbes, Inc. magazine, Business Week, Fast Company, and more. She's the author of 4 books, including Crafting the Customer Experience for People Not Like You. We talk about so many relevant topics related to how to create experiences for customers, but also employees. Please enjoy Kelly McDonald. Kelly, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. Where are you in the world today?
I am in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, amazing. And you're giving a speech, I assume. Which of your books are you giving a speech on?
I'm actually giving a custom speech for a repeat client of mine, the Insulation Contractors Association of America, ICAA, and their conference is in Dallas. And I'm actually doing a custom session on them on recruiting and retention in the workforce because their industry, like so many, has just been hit so hard with, worker shortage and also like where to go find good workers, etc. So I do all kinds
Yeah.
of business topics, and that's the one I'm doing for them.
So interesting. So insulation. Wow, that's an industry most of us don't think about, but every industry it seems like there's just so much happening today. Like let's just get to know you a little bit before we get into the hard questions that I want to ask you. How did you get into
Okay.
this work, and what inspired you to write your books? And today I'm most excited about the Crafting the Customer Experience for People Not Like You book. But how did you get started doing this work?
I come from a global ad agency background, which is really great experience for what I do now because it's all in the global marketing space. It's all about research. It's right, it's about like understanding what are the consumer trends, what do people want, how do we give it to them, how do we deliver that, etc. So I was working in Dallas. I'm living in Denver now, but I was working in Dallas at the time, and I saw the changing demography around me so prevalent in the 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, when that census came out. We could hear different languages with our ears, we could see different kinds of people with our eyes, and I just knew that the census information was going to be a game changer, that was going to be like one of these things that from a business standpoint, when we could quantify all the different kinds of people in the United States, it would really change the way that we approach business. And one of those aspects is about the customer experience. And, it's not just about selling to your customers. Then, well, how do you serve them? They're two sides of the same coin. And I started writing books, and that was my second book. And it's a really important book because we don't all want the same kind of experience. And to the extent that
Yeah.
anybody can actually customize a customer experience, it grows business. It's just been proven. So that's how I got to where I am now. And then I became a full-time professional speaker on these topics about 21 years ago. So I've been doing this for a long time and writing those books along the way.
Okay, so in this Crafting the Customer Experience for People Not Like You, it seems to me, just as a customer, that most experiences are very much still one size fits all, even with so much conversation around accessibility and inclusion. Like, it just doesn't even feel like that, not as a speaker or a researcher or author, but just as a person, as a customer. Do you think we're going through this time of change as brands realize and reckon with the idea that they are not doing a great job of personalization?
Well, I would hope so, but the answer that I'm going to give you is my truthful answer, and that is slowly,
Right.
kind of clunking along. What businesses are focused on right now is DEI, diversifying their workforce, making sure that the welcome mat out is out for new customers, etc. What I feel like they're lagging in and what they need to do that would complete that picture of valuing diverse customers is to actually do more research and deliver more when it comes to that customer experience. Like, so when I'm interested in you, you marketed to me, I showed up, or, metaphorically showed up. I'm here at your doorstep, whether it's on your website or in your actual, business location, or, working through a producer of some kind. What is that customer experience that I get? And does it feel like they know me? And that's where I
Mhm.
feel like that part is lacking. It's getting better, but it's still lacking. A
Yeah.
lot of companies just think that if we diversify the workforce, we're automatically going to do a better job with the customer experience. And that's true to a degree. It really is. But it's not everything.
So, what are some of the companies that you think do a great job of crafting the customer experience for people that look different than they might look?
I think one of the leading or industries out there right now is the insurance industry, because everybody, and by that I mean like property and casualty, not so much life insurance or health insurance, but let's just talk like property and casualty. So that means home and auto and belongings. And I think that they have done an exceptional job of recognizing that all kinds of people own cars, own homes, want to protect their assets, etc. And they've really diversified their marketing, but they've also diversified their agents. So if you think about a big carrier, that's the, so if I use, if I use Westfield Insurance or Chubb Insurance for an example, that's the insurance carrier, the provider, but it is agents who sell that insurance. And one of the things that's really been gratifying in the insurance industry is how much focus they're putting on all different kinds of diverse agents, because what those agents are is the local voice of that carrier. That's the person who delivers that insurance policy, right? You don't just call up the carrier, you call up your agent when you're buying insurance. And they are doing an exceptional job of really maximizing what that customized experience is for different localities with the right agents around the country.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Okay. So, why do you think these industries in particular get it and life insurance and health just are not doing it?
No, I didn't say that. I just want to clarify because I actually do a lot of work in that space too. They are, but I think the property and casualty insurance, because it's so literally consumer based as opposed to, let's say, employer based. A lot of health insurance
Mm-hmm.
companies, their customer is actually the employer, and then the users are the employees, etc. Um, and I think life insurance is a whole different animal, but I think that the reason that the property and casualty insurance companies have done such a great job is because that is the direct line to the consumer. If you own a home, you're going to need insurance, and everybody wants to insure you. And so they wanted to put the welcome mat out for all different kinds of customers, and actually also say, we're not just the best, insurance provider. We have the best agents who live locally, know the community, know you, and do a great job.
Okay. So, if a company wants to do a better job of understanding the customer and how they can better serve them, what's the best way to do that?
I think the best way is to actually learn who your customers are, and then also who your customers could be. So there's two sides to that. One is the customers that you already have, because most businesses are already successful. So how can we deepen that loyalty and that customer connection with the customers that we already have? How can we just do a better job? And then the other side of it is, if we're already successful, how much more successful could we be if we could get the people we're not getting, but we could be? And so the first tactic, if you're going to actually do more for your customers or find out more of what they need, is to talk to them. And that can be informally with conversations directly with customers. It can be through a survey. It can be through having a group of people that you've invited to come talk about what it is about you. What is it that you like about us? What do you wish you could change, etc. And let me give you a couple of specific pointers on that, because
Yeah.
I do a lot of work also with the franchise industry. Okay. So the
Okay.
franchise industry is also another interesting industry where the brand is the franchise, and yet the suppliers of that brand are the local franchisees. So let's take Great Clips, for example. They have thousands of salons across the country. So Great Clips is the brand, but your local franchisee bought into this business and is now a franchisee, and they have their way of doing things. But if I was a franchisee and I saw a growing population around me that I was not serving, one of the, let's say it was a Spanish speaking population. Let's say it was an Asian community. Let's say it was an LGBTQ community. The first thing I would be doing is saying, do we have a good customer experience here for different kinds of people where they feel welcome, they feel invited? Do we have someone who speaks their language? Do we have someone, do we foster an inclusive and respectful environment for all kinds of people, etc.?
I just feel like it's such a good time for someone like you that's been doing this for so long because there's just so much more awareness about these needs.
Well, the other thing I think that's really important to learn about any customer, it doesn't have to be a specific customer segment, is what they don't want. What they don't want or that they would like changed. That's a really important way to get to how to serve different kinds of customers differently. So the example that I would give is what somebody should not say to a beloved client or customer. If you've got a great client, that's a great place to start in terms of talking about the value of your business to them, because they know you. They know you and they've been loyal and you have a great relationship. So use those great relationships and lean into that and talk to a great customer and say, Blake, you've been working with us for years. We value you so much. You're one of our best, clients and customers. I'd like to ask you something, and that is, if you could change one thing about us, what would you change?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
that's the do. Here's the don't. Don't say, what don't you like about us? Because your best customers like you. And so
Right.
if you say, what don't you like about us? Their answer is going to be something along the lines of, nothing. I like you. That's why I do business with you. But if you ask specifically, if you could change one thing about us, what would it be? Maybe it's your hours. Maybe it's your products. Maybe it's where your locations are. Maybe it's the fact that you don't have a very good website. Maybe it's hard to get a live person on the phone, whatever it might be. But that's an exceptional way to actually get to what customers want and not guess. I think that's another thing that a lot of organizations do is they try to guess what the customer wants. Why not just ask?
So let's step back. I love that. It's really helpful. I also went to Fantastic Sam's yesterday with my 3-year-old and my 7-year-old and watched him get a haircut. So, like, your example is really fresh in my mind, although it's not Great Clips, it's a
With
competitor.
great clips, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about macro trends and consumer insights. I mean, there's just so much disruption happening with Chat GPT and uncertainty in the economy. What kinds of trends are you seeing that would affect the listeners and viewers of this show that focus on customer experience?
One of the biggest ones having to do with uncertainty, whether it's economic uncertainty, employment uncertainty, not sure how laws are changing around you, daily, that's going on in certain parts of the country, is flexibility. So to the extent that any business can offer flexible options, that is paramount, okay? Because people are a little afraid of like committing to things, or
Yes.
if I'm doing business with this organization, am I locked in there forever? And so any way that an organization can be providing flexibility is a huge step up in that area right there. And there's some great examples of that. So I'll take a low one and a high one. Gym memberships have always operated on the idea that once you're a member, we're just going to bill you every month, and unless you contact us, you're in for life. And people feel that that's a little trapping. Like they're kind of like, I just don't know if I want to do this every month, or I haven't found myself going very often. So if I were a gym organization, I would be offering very flexible passes and flexibility in terms of changing your membership throughout the program, et cetera, with no, penalties, et cetera. And here's one that's genius in the property and casualty insurance industry. I recently came across a provider that is offering auto insurance for people who don't drive very much. So let's
Hmm.
say you're either the little old lady, right, and she only goes to church every week, or you're someone who lives in San Francisco or LA or New York, and you don't even have, or you have a car, but you don't use it very much because public transportation is so good where you live. So why should somebody who only drives 300 miles a month pay the same as someone who drives 3,000 miles a month?
Right.
And there is an insurance carrier who has actually created a pay by the mile product. And I
Yeah, it's
think
very
that's
smart.
genius because it taps into the way people live and also that flexibility. That really shouldn't be the same price. And
So
I'd never
true.
seen anybody do that before, and it was awesome.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, these one size fits all offerings just don't make sense anymore. And I think that people now can get that personalized experience increasingly, so they just want it everywhere. It's like, well, why should I have to pay for a gym membership for a year when I've tried it for a month and it's not for me? And I
Or I
definitely
only
think,
get to go once in a while because I travel all the time, or,
oh,
whatever it
yes,
might be. Yeah.
yes,
You
absolutely,
know,
yes.
that thing is not just of monetary value, which it's saving me money or whatever, but it's also saying, like, you get me. You get me that I'm not always here, or that I can't go as often as I want because I just had a baby and now I'm doing that full time, or, whatever it might be. But people really respond to flexibility. It makes them feel secure.
Absolutely. It's not just you get me, it's like you aren't out to get me, which is something else. It just feels nice when, oh, usually these companies take advantage of customers, but you're actually here trying to help me and take care of me. Like
I'm
that
trying to make
feels
a
so
note of that.
great.
That was absolutely genius what you just said.
You
Not
can
only do
take
you
that
get me,
one.
you're not out to get me. That's
There
great.
you
That's
go. That's your
great.
next. That's the name of your next book.
No
Let's
kidding.
switch
And
gears and talk about coworkers. We're all working with people not like us, and that can create some misunderstandings. What is the best way to work with people that are not like you, and not, I mean, blatantly said, not be offensive or create misunderstandings and problems?
well, number one, I think being respectful is, before you say something, kind of think it over and how that would land for you. So, for example, I've got a very, very close friend of mine who's a gay man, and he's a very out gay man. And he works for an organization where they have a lot of internal meetings. And he said, one day they were in a meeting and they're talking about a strategy or whatever. And a person in the meeting said, so Cliff, as the gay man in the room, what do you think about
Oh,
this? And he said he felt like, yeah, like your face is telling me everything. Like they
yeah,
shined a
so rude.
spotlight on his gayness, and he responded and said something like, well, I can tell you what I think, but I don't speak for all gay people, and just, you know, I think it's that kind of the difficult slash potentially offensive part of that is you're calling out the other person's otherness. You're
Yeah, it's
not
just
you're not
weird.
saying we as a team want to do better. Can anybody add to this conversation and offer a perspective that we should consider, right? Does anybody have any business or life experiences that would make this better, that would make our approach better, or our product or our marketing or whatever it is? Not, as the black woman here, Linda, what do you think? And just, or as
Yeah.
the gay man. And so I think those kind of things, it is not about pointing out the otherness. It's about the usness, if that makes sense. I just made that word up, but the usness. Because in business, we're all in this together and we're trying to do better and be better. And that doesn't mean that we can't be curious about people. I do find that a lot of people, particularly white people, are like, very carefully picking their way through conversations because they don't want to say the wrong thing. And I think one of the best ways to start a conversation with someone who's different from you is to say, tell me about yourself. Because what I
Mhm.
find is when someone says, tell me about yourself, or if I say, tell me about yourself, you're going to tell me what you think is important for me to know. And it
Mhm.
might
Yeah.
be how long you've been in the industry. It might be, I just moved here from Tulsa. It might be, you got a puppy over the weekend. I mean, I don't know. But the point is, that's the humanity part of it, right? Tell me about yourself.
Mhm.
And when we know then what somebody is sharing with us, that's a springboard into all kinds of conversations. And then what we find when we have good conversations is that there's actually more that we're alike than we're different. People are
That's a great
people.
tip.
We all want the same things. We want good opportunities. We want safe schools and nice neighborhoods and good people around us. I mean, our differences aren't that vast. There might be cultural differences. Oh, let me jump on this real quick. Can I give you a do and a don't regarding cultural differences?
Oh, please.
Because
Yes.
a lot of people again are working with different kinds of people from different parts of the world, different cultures and stuff, and um they want to talk about that, but they were never socialized to talk about it. I was instructed to never talk about race or ethnicity when I was growing up. I mean, it was
Mhm.
literally taboo. I had to teach myself how to talk about this. But what they'll say is, two words that you should eradicate from your vocabulary forever from here this moment on, and that is you people or those people. Okay, because you
Yeah.
people is saying you're not like us, you're not like the rest of us, and it's creating that otherness. And people will say that not in a intentionally dismissive way, but because again, they don't know how to approach someone's differences. Okay. And so we have a lot of alike as people, but we also have a lot of differences, and a lot of those differences are cultural. So the don't ever say you people, you know. My example would
Yeah.
be don't say, what do you people eat for Hanukkah? Okay, don't say that. Say instead, though,
I
if you're
could tell you
curious,
because those are my people. I'm happy to tell you.
those are your people.
Latkes and applesauce.
Exactly. But how would you feel if I said, what do you people? I mean,
It
it's
would be so
basically
weird.
saying
It's
you're not,
so weird.
yeah, you're not like us, meaning, I guess, non-Jewish people. So I think a better way would be if I said, Blake, what are the traditional foods served at Hanukkah, and how does your family like to celebrate the holiday?
Oh, that's so nice.
Because I'm,
Yeah,
yeah, and
that's
you're
fair.
going to be happy to share. What are the traditional foods served? It's a very legit question. It's not going, what do you people do, or those people? And so I think when
Yeah.
we're talking about different cultures, we're happy to share. People love to share. It's not an inappropriate thing to say, tell me about yourself, or what's a traditional way that you celebrate birthdays in so, you know, in Sudan, you know, or something like that. I mean, cultures are food, celebrations, religious things. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there.
I love that. That's so smart. Um, all right, well, let's go back. We talked a little bit about colleagues and how what to do and what not to do when we're speaking and communicating. What about customers? I know you have a few words that you believe are really helpful to smooth over some friction with customers. What are a few pieces of advice you have when something goes really wrong with a customer?
When something goes really wrong and you make mistakes and I make mistakes and we make mistakes and it's going to happen, it's all in how you recover. And the way to recover and actually cement that relationship with the customer instead of damaging it further or losing them altogether is to say 5 magic words. And the 5 magic words are, we'll take care of it. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason that these are magic words is because they are not an excuse or an explanation. The customer does not care about why or how that mistake was made. They only care about a solution. So what happens as competent people is we want to demonstrate that we know that we're competent and that we fell short. And so I say things like, well, Blake, I'm so sorry that happened. Jeremy didn't come into work yesterday. And so, it all just fell through the cracks. And
Oh,
then on top
it's
of that,
so
our
awful.
server went, well, and you as the customer are going, I don't care. I don't care.
I
I don't care. What
know.
are you going
I
to do for
know.
me?
It's the
So
worst.
go straight to the solution and just start there and say, you can say, I'm sorry, because that's an important thing. I'm sorry. That's not our way. We'll take care of it. And what's important about that phrase is, I'm sorry is the true apology, right? I have to acknowledge that I fell short of your expectations, or you didn't get what you want, or whatever the shortcoming was. And then that's not our way, is letting the customer know that you fell short of your own standards. Our standards are here and we didn't deliver. We'll take care of it. We'll take
Yeah,
care of it is all they want to know. And the
I love that.
cautionary comment is, if you're going to say we'll take care of it, you better take care of it quickly.
Right.
Like, the worst thing you could do then is to not take care of it. So if you're going to say
It's
we'll take
worse.
care of
It's
it,
worse than if you say, "Oh, we're not going to be able to help you." Like if you it's an example. I went to the vet yesterday and I have special medication for my dog. She has a heart murmur. And they said, I said, I need the medicine today because I'm totally out. And they said, okay, Blake, well, we're going to call another doctor, get the approval, and we'll get back to you. Well, I had to pick up my son, my 3-year-old, and they had never called me to let me know. And I just remembered I had to drive to the vet. So I'm on the phone with them on the way. I'm saying, you said you would do it, but you didn't do it. But I'm driving because I need that medicine today and I hope you get it together. And they were able to accommodate me and get me the medicine. But it's the worst feeling when somebody takes ownership over your case and then they just drop the
mm-hmm.
ball.
Yep, yep. And it really is it's a black check mark against that industry, because then what you're basically saying is, you told me the words that you thought I wanted to hear, but you didn't mean them. Or maybe you meant them, but you didn't follow through. I mean, either way, it's negative, negative, negative. And it shows a disrespect for the customer and that you're not taking your commitment to them seriously and following through. And here's the other thing, Blake. Sometimes we actually can't fix it in the moment, right? So if I say, Blake, I'm so sorry, that's not our way. We'll take care of it. Okay.
Hmm.
But then the next day, I'm still waiting for a solution, or maybe I'm waiting for somebody to call me back. Anyway, the point is, it might be complicated and I might not be able to fix it just like that. Then the best thing I can do is to contact you and say, Blake, I haven't forgotten about you. I just want to let you know that we are working on the situation and I'm going to keep you updated, as with every day with how long this is going to take. We think it might take 2 more days. I mean, you're just managing expectations so that the customer is not just sitting there going, hello, where'd you go? You
Absolutely.
can buy
Yeah.
a lot of grace by just telling people, I'm working on it. We
That's
haven't
such
forgotten
a
about you. We're working
wise.
on it.
I love that. And I love even the words that you use. They're very calming words. Like, we're going to take care of it. Kind of sounds like we're going to take care of you. And it's just words of
Exactly.
confidence, of care, and use the word grace. You get a lot of grace with customers. Communication is so
Hmm.
important. And I think that your work really illustrates how important communication is and how it just requires a little bit more of thought and maybe biting your tongue if you're not sure. Just take a breath of, okay,
Yeah.
how do I want this to sound?
How do I want to respond? Yeah. What would I
Yep.
want? And I think that leads to sort of reading the room too. There's a lot of industries where the customer interaction is right there in the moment. Okay, and so I'll give you an example of a friend of mine who is the manager of a coffee shop, and she was telling me about different kinds of customers they come in. And she goes, you would think coffee is coffee is coffee, and she goes, it's not. And she said, we have a guy that comes in every day, and he's always on the phone and he points at the board at what he wants, and she's like,
Right.
really, like it just seems really, anybody else would just put the phone down and then order, but not this guy. He's talking on the phone. And so she started like pantomiming what he's pointing like this, and so she figured out he wants a grande or whatever. And then she's like, do you want whipped cream? Right. She's like just going like this, and he's going, you know,
Yeah.
and all the time there's no words. Okay. So the bottom line is he ended up tipping her really fat. And day after day he would come in and he would order this coffee with no words. And she'd be like, do you want a small, a medium, a
That's so
large? And he'd be like,
nice.
and the bottom line is what this guy is he's on the phone every morning for whatever reason. But what he really wants, and the reason he was tipping her fat was because what she was giving him was speed and efficiency. That's what
Yeah.
he's really buying. In addition to buying a cup of coffee, he's buying speed and efficiency. He doesn't have to put his phone down. And then the converse side of that is the little old lady that comes in at 2 in the afternoon. She does not want speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
She
She
wants
wants to talk.
attention. She wants conversation. And so I think it's about reading the room and trying to give people to the best of your ability to give people that experience that they want. My 86-year-old mother wants a very different kind of customer experience than you do. If my 86-year-old mother was trying to do business with somebody, let's say she was going to go to the bank and get a loan or whatever, her idea of a great experience would be to be at the bank for 5 hours and talk to the loan officer for 5 hours, and then they'd give her coffee and cookies, and she would think that was awesome. And most of
Yeah.
the rest of us would be like, are you kidding me? you know,
Yeah. No,
that
I
was a
get it.
real imposition.
I get it. And it makes perfect sense. What I like about your coffee story is I did expect you to say that your friend was annoyed that the person was on the phone. And I was thinking, I've done that. Oh no. But
We have.
usually there's, if I'm on the phone and I'm doing a transaction, it's because something really important is happening or if it's important to me. Because I really don't like to disrespect people and I really try not to. But sometimes, I mean, it's kind of unavoidable. So your friend, the coffee owner, she didn't get upset. She just met him where he was and had empathy and thought, well, he must have a good reason he's on the phone. So, like, I'll just meet him where he is. And just that
She
kindness
didn't
that I
judge
think
him.
goes a long way.
And she adapted her approach to meet his, to your point. She met him where he was, but which is, okay, he's in here for something. He wants something. Let's figure out what he wants. And it makes a funny story or whatever, but you're absolutely right. I mean, that's his reality. She's trying to help him. She
And it's
adapts
our
her
it's the
approach.
new normal that people are on the phone out and about and like it is what it is.
Right. Right.
If it's rude, it
Absolutely.
might be rude, but like this is modern life, so we have to.
And
If we want
as a
customers, we have to figure
provider
it
of
out.
service, we can't take it personally that much. I mean, sometimes it is
No.
a situation that has nothing to do with us. It has to do with that mom with a 3-year-old who's going, just a second, and trying her
Right?
best to like close the car door and and she's doing her best, and we can be empathetic to that.
Yeah,
They're
I
still
love that.
showing up at our businesses.
I love that. I love that. So let's get to know you a little bit better with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
All right, I'm
All right.
ready.
All right. What's the most important part of your morning routine?
Coffee.
Same.
My morning routine is two cups of coffee, never one, never three, 2 cups of coffee, and then it's about organizing my day.
Great.
The
Do
calls
you
that I
have a
have, the emails, I mean, just making a plan for the day.
love it? Same. Coffee is a must. Do you have a unique leadership hack that helped get you to where you are today?
Yes, this is a really simple one. It was a game changer when I started using this myself, working for large global companies. Is when you're working with someone different, you're not always going to see eye to eye, and that makes a difficult situation. Let's say if you're working on something, a problem solving thing, even more difficult because you're not seeing eye to eye. So what happens is many of us were taught that the way to handle a situation like that is to say, let's agree to disagree. The
Right.
problem with that is that they're polite words, but they don't work, Blake, because if I say to you, Blake, let's just agree to disagree, shall we? You know, and I know that if you say yes, and most people do, that this conversation is over.
Right.
And I don't think in business it's a good idea to ever have the conversation over, especially when we don't agree. That's when we need to like go a little further and figure out what's behind your thinking and stuff. So I think that one of the biggest things that people can do is stop saying let's agree to disagree. It doesn't do anything. It certainly doesn't further business, and say instead, I see it differently. Because if I was
Okay.
working with you on something and we're not in agreement, and you say, Kelly, I see it differently, then I'm going to come back with something like, tell me how you see it. There's no way that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to say, I see it differently. And I go, okay, bye. you know,
Right.
it fosters more. And that's a really easy hack that anybody can do, whether you're a leader, whether you're an employee and you're not a leader, whether you're an aspiring leader. It's a game changer when you say, um, I see it differently. The other person will say, tell me how you see it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's an
Mm-hmm.
important
Okay.
perspective because otherwise it's just this. Let's agree to disagree. We're not actually finding out what the issue is behind the disagreement.
Yeah. Understood. Love that. All right. Next question. What are you watching on Netflix or other streaming services right now?
Sex Education season 4.
What's your idea of perfect happiness?
I'm going to go big and global here and I'm going to say world peace. That would make me perfectly happy.
What is your favorite type of vacation?
In the mountains, anywhere with trees. I'm a tree person.
Okay. If you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
I'm going to go with Barack. I have questions for him.
All right, great. If you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
High energy optimistic. That's 3 words, but I'm optimistic and I'm
That
a little
works.
much for some people. But I bring the energy.
Oh, I can relate. I can relate. It's all good. Well, Kelly, this has been so fun. I really have genuinely enjoyed talking with you. I hope you'll come back on the show. And if our
Love
audience want
to.
to learn more about you, where can they do that?
Sure, they can go to my website, which is mcdonaldmarketing.com. So it's McDonald, like the hamburgers, mcdonaldmarketing.com. And that's where they can find out more information about me, my books, my topics that I do as a professional speaker. And thank you for asking.
All right. Well, everybody, you've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.